Daniel and Jessica, a young married couple, discover they're expecting their second child, another boy. The news arrives unexpectedly, catching them off guard as they hadn't anticipated expanding their family. This revelation disrupts their plans as they both partake in substance abuse. Even with the prospect of welcoming a new addition to their family, she refuses to stop. This addiction leads her to avoid attending prenatal appointments and sharing the news of her pregnancy with others. Jessica, struggling with addiction and the unexpected pregnancy, attempts to distance herself from the impending arrival of their new baby boy. Instead, she focuses on her life with her husband and their older child, trying to maintain a sense of normalcy amidst the impending changes. As Jessica tries to deny her pregnancy, the inevitable moment arrives, signaling the onset of labor. Despite her attempts to avoid medical care, she realizes the urgency of the situation, though not in significant pain due to her substance use. She knows the birth is imminent, and she can't handle it alone. Gathering herself, she heads to the hospital where she quickly delivers the baby, aided by her advanced dilation upon arrival. Their newborn, Dylan, faces challenges after birth, requiring intensive care due to breathing complications. It's then that the doctors realize he's experiencing withdrawal symptoms, necessitating an extended stay for observation and specialized care. Finally, Dylan is discharged, and Jessica and Daniel start their journey with their new addition. However, an unexpected stipulation arises. Both parents must take drug tests to continue caring for their children. Social services conduct a home visit to ensure the baby's welfare. Yet everything seems ordinary at the couple's home. During the conversation with the social worker, Jessica, holding baby Dylan close, calmly responds to the inquiries. From the social worker's perspective, the baby appears healthy and serene, nestled safely in Jessica's arms, creating a reassuring image of a loving, attentive mother caring for her child. As time progresses, the challenge of resisting substances becomes increasingly difficult for Jessica and Daniel. When Jessica's test results are positive, she's compelled to leave their home. Daniel finds himself thrust into the role of sole caretaker for both children, bearing the weight of the responsibility. Struggling with the overwhelming tasks of caring for a newborn and a teenager, Daniel is feeling burdened. Despite his initial reservations, he eventually allows Jessica to return home, feeling incapable of managing everything alone. However, this decision breaches their agreement with the state, resulting in Dylan being placed with a foster mother due to Jessica's positive tests and breach of conditions. In the foster home, Dylan continues to battle withdrawal symptoms, enduring tremors and distressing moments. The foster mother provides solace and comfort, offering support during these challenging times. After spending 12 days with the foster mother, Dylan is returned to Daniel's care. Daniel remains the primary caregiver for the baby, shouldering the responsibilities while Jessica is kept outside the home due to the circumstances. The situation places an immense strain on their family dynamic, leaving Daniel to navigate the complexities of parenting and caring for both children without Jessica's immediate presence. Jessica and Daniel continue their substance use, and she is granted access to the home by Daniel despite the state's orders. They have only had baby Dylan back for one night and already have taken out their aggression on the helpless infant. Jessica is in her bedroom with the baby when Daniel hears a thud. He yells in the other room, "What's going on?" Jessica responds, "Don't worry, it was my purse." Unbeknownst to Daniel, Jessica's in the room with Dylan and drops him on the floor. Jessica grows angry and becomes violent with Dylan, breaking ribs, fracturing his skull, and twisting his arm. Dylan is screaming in agony, so Jessica has an idea. From her painless experience of giving birth, she decides it would be best to give Dylan some of her substances to calm him down. From the extensive wounds and substances pumped into his tiny system, Dylan passes away. Jessica panics and calls Daniel into the room. She shows Daniel what happened and paints the incident as an accident. Jessica suggests that because Daniel is solely responsible for Dylan's care in the eyes of the state, they might blame him for the death. The couple keeps Dylan's body in their home for a couple of days while they come up with a plan. Finally, Daniel and Jessica decide what they will do with Dylan to conceal him from the prying eyes of social services. Daniel grabs 2 milk crates, zip ties, chains, a few locks, 6 plastic bags, and 18 rocks. Jessica carries Dylan outside and they wrap him in the 6 plastic bags, place him in the 2 milk crates along with the 18 rocks, zip tie the crates together, wrap the chain around the entire bundle, and seal it with the padlocks. Together, the couple rides their 4-wheeler out through the backyard to their well, essentially a 30-foot deep hole filled with water. They kneel down and drop Dylan down the hole. A splash, some bubbles, and there Dylan sinks to the bottom of the well. Social services diligently maintain their schedule for checkups on the couple and baby Dylan, yet they encounter an unexpected hurdle. They can't locate them. Concern mounts, leading to the filing of a police report after several days of fruitless searching. The police arrive to the couple's residence and only find Jessica. Jessica claims to be unaware of where they can find Daniel. The authorities escalate their efforts. They announce their presence, demanding Daniel's surrender, but he remains elusive. Refusing to comply, Daniel maintains his secluded position, prompting the police to resort to drastic measures. Flashbangs and smokes are deployed into the home, a strategy aimed at coercing Daniel into a safe arrest. Despite the chaos, Daniel remains steadfast in his refusal to emerge. The situation intensifies until law enforcement manages to detain Daniel, finally bringing the standoff to an end. With Daniel in custody, they transport him to the police station, hoping to unravel the mystery behind the family's disappearance and ensure the safety of baby Dylan. Daniel is placed in a room for further questioning about where Dylan is located. He eventually gives the investigators a location for his body. However, they soon discover this to be a false location, since their cadaver dogs do not pick up any scent. In an attempt to get Daniel to speak more about his involvement and knowledge of Dylan's whereabouts, they allow Jessica into the interrogation room with him. They are left alone in the recorded room to talk about whatever they want. They discuss their concern for their dog and the fact that their family won't pick up the phone. Jessica shares her frustration with how she has been treated in jail since arriving. She has not been able to take a shower and was not given the care she hoped for.
You called Linda?
I called Linda this morning because I asked all day yesterday, all day. No. And I figured probably because she was at work, so I was waiting until like 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Can you leave her a message?
To call her. No, it won't let me. I only get 2 phone calls.
You were using them?
And I used 1.
I ain't never used one. Well, I was going to tell you, you need to get over to Linda or get over to Phyllis and leave a message and tell them to go in there, to take Daniel in there and go to Humane Society and get Chip and Bella.
Is that where Chip and Bella's at?
We're all, they took both of us. You get eaten?
Nope.
Why not?
I had anything to eat with.
Why didn't they give you a spoon they took you back here?
They didn't give me anything. They haven't given me toilet paper. The only toilet paper I had, because when I was in holding, I was about to freeze to freaking death. I was freezing to death. And there was a roll of toilet paper and there were dirty blankets laying. There was a cup that was somebody else's. And there was toilet paper laying everywhere, and there was a roll of toilet paper. So I took the first few layers off and wrapped to my feet because I was freezing to death. I made me some socks.
Yeah, what I do.
So I have a little bit of toilet paper up there that I wrapped to my feet.
At no point do they show any concern for their infant. The couple decides this is a good time to discuss more pressing issues, such as what they have told investigators so far to make sure their stories align. They lean into each other and whisper, as to not be heard by the interrogators outside of the room. However, they forgot about the recording devices that remain in the room with them.
They told me you were playing music for me. They told me that you said he was dead. Well, they told me that he was dead. I told him as far as I knew, CPS got back into me. They told me they knew he was dead. He said that they knew better than I lied. They told me that you told me he was dead. They told me you told them that. They said you told them everything. They knew.
What were you having? W pod?
B.
B pod?
I'm gonna sell by myself.
Eventually, Daniel comes clean with the correct location of Dylan's body and leads the investigators to look in the well. The authorities call out firefighters to assist in draining the well and retrieving the bundle from the bottom. Jessica and Daniel are charged with multiple counts in the death of their son. Let's now fast forward to the trial. First is the prosecution. They stress that both Daniel and Jessica tested positive for methamphetamine while caring for their infant. Neither sought medical care for Dylan in the months leading up to his death. The prosecution argues they were complicit in hindering the government's ability to check on Dylan's welfare. The prosecution states that the couple engaged in a cover-up by concealing Dylan's remains. This is a key element because initially Jessica pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. However, the judge deemed her competent to stand trial. A key element to pleading not guilty by reason of insanity is one must not be aware their actions are morally wrong. Jessica went to great lengths to cover up Dylan and her actions, which reveals she knew what she did was wrong. The prosecution highlights the medical evidence, explaining Dylan's fractures are a result from violent force, not accidental injury. She emphasizes that the fractures occurred at various stages, disproving claims of a single, inadvertent accident. Regardless of the charges, the prosecution reminds the jury defendants can be found guilty for their own actions or by aiding each other. She claims they can jointly engage in abuse and concealment, and stresses that even if one hurt Dylan more, both prevented authorities from rescuing him. They argue that the couple's defiance, fight, and cover-up make them complicit in Dylan's fate.
You heard in voir dire the phrase, being in cahoots with someone. And you also heard in Ohio that the legal term for that is complicity. His Honor may instruct you that the defendant or defendants can be found guilty of the offense charged as a principal offender, in other words, the person who committed that crime, but also can be found guilty of that principal offense in complicity. In other words, they don't have to be the person who actually committed the crime, but complicit to that person or in cahoots with that person. You may be further instructed that complicity means aided or abetted. And you may also be instructed that aiding and abetting includes supporting, assisting, cooperating with, advising, inciting another to commit a crime. Complicity also includes conspiring with another person to commit a crime. Evidence will show that the container consisted of these two metal crates, or these two plastic milk crates, chained together, zip-tied, and wire-tied. It was weighted down with several rocks and a round metal object around Dylan's body. The container was loaded undisturbed for coroner's transport to the Montgomery County Coroner's Office. The coroner will testify Dylan's death was the result of violence.
Up next is Daniel's defense. Daniel's attorney argues Jessica alone abused and killed Dylan without Daniel's knowledge. He claims Daniel merely helped dispose of Dylan's body after the fact, stressing Daniel led police to Dylan's remains. The lawyer contends this shows a guilty conscience about hiding Dylan, but not causing his demise. He submits that if Daniel harmed Dylan, he would not have revealed the location. Daniel's defense focuses on Daniel's character. The defense paints him as blindly devoted to Jessica, despite warning signs. They claim he was foolishly unaware of Jessica's conduct rather than complicit. They argue he disposed of Dylan after the fact out of misguided loyalty. However, they reiterate simply hiding Dylan's fate falls short of the culpable mental state required for murder charges. In regards to the interrogation video, the defense notes Daniel initially provided false accounts to the police consistent with Jessica's direction. However, they stress when he could no longer abide lies, he revealed the truth about Dylan's remains. They argue this decision to expose Jessica's actions proves consciousness of innocence regarding the most severe charges.
She will testify that she murdered Dylan Groves. She will testify to the injuries that she caused to Dylan Groves. The 2-inch fracture on the skull, the 1-inch fracture on the skull, the 1/2-inch laceration on the left arm, fracture of the left humerus, fracture of the left radius and ulna, red contusion on the right side of the chest, healed rib fractures, and the drugs in baby Dylan's system. These are the injuries caused to Dylan Groves by Jessica Groves. Finally, you might ask, why put everybody through this ordeal? Why put everybody through this trauma? The answer is because she's going to do the right thing right now. And that right thing is to take personal responsibility for her crimes and sins. And that right thing also is to protect and defend an innocent man. Daniel Groves had nothing to do with the death of Dylan Groves and did not cause these injuries. He was foolishly unaware of these injuries. And I say foolishly because hindsight's always 20/20. And sometimes you're oblivious to what's going on.
We would argue and support that position in this matter, that Ms. Groves is the principal perpetrator in this matter. And that is in a position that has actually been held by the state in this case since this case was arraigned right here in this courtroom. I'm sure this case is going to be very emotional, this is going to be very taxing, and it's going to anger you. If it doesn't, I'll be very surprised. But I want to ask you and to remind you to render a fair and a just verdict here, one that matches the law that you will be instructed on.
Let's now take a look at one of the volunteer firefighters that was on the scene. A group of volunteer firefighters were dispatched to the remote well site to facilitate recovery of contents submerged within. As the depth exceeded 30 feet, neither manual retrieval or visibility of the sunken materials was possible without first draining the accumulated water. Once enough water was removed from the well, the firefighters started fishing around until they could hook onto the bundle. Eventually, they snagged upon the bundle of chained crates, the target container reportedly housing Dylan's remains. They carefully pulled up the crates until it finally reached the surface. We will hear from one of the volunteer firefighters that helped in retrieving Dylan from the well.
I'll place on the overhead, sir, of the Martin State Exhibit 32. Sir, what does this depict?
That's Dan Shirey in the white t-shirt, and that is myself reaching into the well to try and remove the crates.
Okay. This photograph, do we see part of the crate there?
That is where it had just started to come up and was at an angle and was hitting the top of the well.
And the previous photographs that we depicted here with the well without anybody around it, is this the same well?
Yes, sir.
State's Exhibit 33. What does this depict?
That is us still trying to remove the crates from the well. Dan and my brother were trying to hold it. We did not want we didn't want the weight or anything to readjust and move and lose what we had brought to the top of the well.
State's Exhibit 34. Sir, what does this depict?
That's the crates that we had hooked. That is myself removing the hook from the crates after I had reached in and readjusted it and got a firm grip of it to pull it out of the well.
So where we see this hook, this yellow thing extended from your hand, is that a metal hook?
Yes, sir.
And is that where it was able to hook?
Just by luck. Yes, sir. Once it was removed and we had been asked by the deputies to try and help them transport it out of the field. We backed our brush truck over close to the crates, and that's when we walked around the back of the truck to load it, Dan and myself, and the smell hit us. Dan at that time turned around and couldn't do it and returned to the front of the truck. I went back there by myself, picked it up, loaded it into the back of the truck, and took a ratchet strap and hooked it around it so that we would not lose it or it would not be damaged, and tied it down and then removed it from the field.
We'll now take a look at Dylan's foster mother, Andrea. Andrea, a foster parent, now takes the stand. She recounts rushing to become baby Dylan's foster mom when the call came with little notice. Gathering urgent donations, she took leave from teaching to care for the fragile infant struggling with withdrawal. During intense training, Andrea learned to monitor symptoms, hinting at risks if he was neglected again. Her description of Dylan's tremors and need for constant comfort highlighted his suffering.
What was your understanding of what you might be dealing with?
They told me that he was born with drugs in his system and that he was withdrawing and that he was, at that time, he was 5 pounds, 4 ounces. So he was really tiny. That's basically what they told me.
Okay.
He had tremors where his arms would shake.
Okay.
And his legs would jerk. He had sweats. And he liked to be held at all times. When he wasn't asleep or in his mama room, I was holding him.
Andrea expresses reservations about Daniel and Jessica after meeting them, finding Jessica oddly giddy while Daniel was quietly detached. Inquiring about drug testing revealed early concerns about Dylan's welfare in their care. Providing heartfelt gifts upon his departure could not hide Andrea's emotional attachment or hopes to remain involved.
Did you provide Daniel with anything else besides the...
I gave him a letter to him and Jessica.
Okay. And did you provide your number or anything
I
of
did.
that?
I just basically in the letter said that how much I loved Dylan, cared about him, and that I just wanted to be maybe, if I could be involved or to have them maybe just let me know about some milestones that he reaches.
Did you offer to help if they were needing help?
I did. I said, if you ever need anything, to call me, and I gave him my phone number.
Did they ever reach out to you after that?
No.
Jessica takes the stand in her defense, admitting she alone killed baby Dylan, though claiming it was unintentional. She insists her husband was unaware of any injuries done to Dylan. Jessica's older son testified in court, revealing that he had noticed severe injuries on his brother, such as a black and blue head. Yet Jessica claims she was able to hide these injuries from her husband.
Jessica, did you, and you only, cause the death of your son, Dylan Groves?
Yes.
Did Daniel Groves participate in the killing of Dylan?
No.
Was Daniel Groves aware of any of the injuries that you caused Dylan that may have led to his death?
No.
Did you hide all injuries that you caused Dylan from your husband?
Yes.
Where did you take Dylan after he died?
He was at our house for a couple days.
And then where did you take him?
To the well.
Did you murder Dylan Groves?
Not intentionally.
The courtroom grows tense as the prosecution questions Jessica. They press for explanatory details on horrific wounds seen in autopsy photos. She insisted a drug-induced memory block recollection of specifics. Despite the shocking trauma inflicted, quickly she recoils and decides she no longer wants to answer questions from the prosecution. Her lack of knowledge of the court proceedings reveals her lack of preparation. When a defendant takes the stand, they are obligated to answer all cross-examination questions fully and truthfully. Jessica is not allowed to stop her testimony as she pleases. Due to her not getting her way, she resorts to playing the victim and questions the prosecution about what more they could want from her. She believes her admitting to the crime should be enough, and any more than that is torture for her to relive. Jessica wants sympathy for having to endure the pain of losing her child every day of her life.
What did you cause those rib fractures?
By dropping him.
By dropping him. How did you cause that first 2-inch skull fracture?
I don't remember.
How did you cause that 1-inch skull fracture?
It had to be from dropping him.
How did you cause that complete upper arm fracture?
Nothing that I ever did was intentional.
I'm not asking for your excuse. How did you cause that complete upper arm fracture? Tell the jury.
I have to live with this for the rest of my
Answer the question.
life.
How did you cause that?
You have devoured my family.
Ms. Groves, you answer the questions that are asked of you. You understand?
I've admitted to my guilt.
How did you?
And I have to live without my children. I'm done talking to you.
You are talking to me because you're sitting on the witness stand. Tell them how you caused that injury. Judge, I asked you to instruct the witness to answer the question.
Ms. Groves, by testifying, you're subject to cross-examination. You have to answer the questions on cross-examination that are relevant to these proceedings. This question is a relevant question. You will answer the question at this time. And what is your answer to the last question? Ms. Hutchinson, step back for a minute.
I thought we were pushing this. Sorry.
What is your answer to the last question?
Jessica resorts to excuses that she had hidden all injuries from her husband, Daniel. On one hand, she claims to not remember the cause of harm, but remembers all other details surrounding the days leading up to Dylan's death and the days that follow.
I didn't kill my baby.
You didn't?
An accident.
How did you cause those injuries?
I don't remember.
Then how do you remember it was an accident?
Because I would never hurt my children intentionally. Never.
How did you cause those injuries?
I don't remember. I done told you that.
How do you not remember that? Tell the jury how it's possible that you would not remember doing that, if in fact you did it. Ma'am, tell the jury how you would not remember that.
Because my mind wasn't clear.
Why?
Because of drugs.
Are you telling this jury that all of these injuries occurred at one time? In one incident?
No.
How many times did you attack baby Dylan?
I never attacked him.
Then how many accidents did you have, Jessica Groves?
I don't remember. I know it happened. I remember bits and pieces, but no, I don't remember. Because when he died, part of me died. And I've just been on autopilot.
Ma'am, look at this picture. 45, Your Honor. Where did you get all this stuff to wrap baby Dylan in?
Outside, I guess.
You guess. No, I'm asking you for real. Where'd you get all this stuff?
I sure didn't get it out from under the kitchen sink.
Are you going to answer the question?
Outside.
You don't remember this chain? Those 6 layers of plastic and duct tape? 3 padlocks, 12 zip ties, 8 wire ties, 18 rocks? You don't remember that?
Not in detail, no, I don't.
That's not a whole heck of a lot of planning.
No.
Why would you do that if you didn't murder this baby on purpose?
Because I was scared.
Scared of what?
Losing everything.
Is that why you're in here telling this jury the story today?
There are only 2 injuries prior to the horrific incident that Jessica does claim to have answers for. She says that one time she dropped Dylan on accident, causing possible rib fractures. On another occasion, she claims a dream catcher got wrapped around Dylan's arm, and due to the infant swinging his arm around, a tiny stone on the catcher whacked his head, leaving severe bruising and swelling. When forced to elaborate on the steps taken to conceal her actions, Jessica chillingly confirmed wrapping him to enable potential later retrieval. She states that Daniel helped prepare and dispose of the body in the well. Jessica is able to remember these details, however claims to not remember crucial details surrounding Dylan's injuries that caused him to perish.
Why did you guys tell your son that a dream catcher hurt that baby?
Because it did.
Tell the jury about that. You said you didn't remember. Tell the jury what happened with that dream catcher.
I didn't think that dream catcher had injuries to that extent.
So that accident didn't cause his death?
No.
Tell him what accident did.
I don't remember.
I want you to explain to the jury this process up here.
I can't.
Why?
Because I don't recall.
Who drove baby Dylan out to that well?
We both did.
Tell the jury how that happened and what you did.
We took him out to the well.
How'd you get there?
On the 4-wheeler.
And then what?
We put him in the well, then we sit in the field and cried.
Daniel reluctantly takes the stand amid intensifying scrutiny. He first contends obliviousness to Jessica's concealed pregnancy and drug abuse, absolving his absence from prenatal care. Daniel describes feeling scared and powerless at the hospital, playing to sympathy. Daniel's ongoing tolerance of Jessica seemingly enables Jessica's mounting abuse. Given visible warning signs, his inaction proves inexcusable, fueling negligent perceptions. 2 revealing moments undermine Daniel's credibility. First, he trips over an inconsistency. Initially, he claims to not remember the police's line of questioning, yet immediately confirms specific affirmative replies. This mental stumble plants doubt on his broader claims about foggy memory. Second, Daniel stresses technical wording, arguing he reported Jessica, quote, smacked Dylan's head rather than hit him. This hair-splitting aims to minimize his admissions on her violence. But any such attack on an infant is reprehensible, regardless of phrasing. Together, the exchanges spotlight Daniel's truthfulness gaps and self-serving mental gymnastics. He tries dodging full responsibility through unreliable forgetfulness and sanitizing Jessica's conduct. But the jury likely sees past these maneuvers to find a man who fatally fell short of protecting his son.
You saw your wife hit the baby a couple times.
I said that I had what I thought were dreams of it, but I was unsure if they were true or not. I was very sleep deprived.
Say you saw your wife you saw your wife strike the baby.
I said I did, but I thought it was dreams.
So it's a dream.
I was very sleep deprived.
Isn't it true you said to Detective Conkle, I know it's fucked up. I should have never done this way. I knew better. And I seen her hit him probably 4 times, probably.
I don't recall how many times I said.
4 times on the head? Do you remember Detective Conkle asking you that?
I don't recall what questions were asked.
You don't recall answering yeah?
I do recall answering yes.
To that question?
To those questions, yes.
So you do remember telling Detective Conkle 4 times in the head?
But I didn't say that I recall her hitting. I said a smack.
Daniel insists that Dylan's bouts of extreme crying stemmed from innocent infant withdrawal alone, provoking no concern for his boy's welfare. Despite disturbing signs, he made no effort to seek medical advice, assess for injuries, or intervene to aid Dylan in distress. Daniel plainly states that frequent, unexplained screaming fits seem normal to him, merely uncomfortable side effects newborns endure during detoxing. Rather than connect the excessive weeping to potential abuse from Jessica's violence that he had personally witnessed, Daniel adamantly professes considering no such notion. Though aware of Dylan's vulnerable state and Jessica's volatility, the evident risks to his son's safety while enduring these incidents failed to penetrate Daniel's perceptions. He merely reviewed some online resources, then carried on, assuming the worst of Dylan's symptoms were temporary and benign.
Yes, as I stated before, I thought it was because of him being born addicted to drugs. Like I said, I looked it up and they said that infants sometimes up to 6 months would be more irritable, more touchy, do a lot more crying.
So you looked it up on Google, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I believe it was Google, yes. It was somewhere online.
Mm-hmm. Didn't call CPS?
Over some extra crying? No.
Didn't talk to your LPN wife?
I did talk to her about it, and she told me that it was most likely due to being addicted to drugs.
Same lady you're scared of?
Yes.
Didn't call Dr. Hudson?
No, I had no concern to call a doctor. It was just merely crying.
The evidence paints a tragic picture of repeated agony for little Dylan across his short life. Healing rib fractures, clinically established prior abuse. Dylan's bones were broken before, inflicting trauma well before the attacks that ultimately claimed his life. Any fractured rib would have caused Dylan tremendous distress and pain. Yet, despite continually being present, dressing Dylan daily, Daniel somehow remained oblivious. He did not notice any injuries or evidence of the suffering beneath Dylan's clothes. When confronted on the witness stand over such stunning obliviousness, Daniel's credibility strains.
Did you bathe the child?
Yes, I did.
Change the child's diapers?
Yes, I did.
Change the child's clothing?
Yes, I did. Are you asking me if I was the only one that done it?
No, I'm asking you, did you do that?
Yes, I did.
State's Exhibit 67, Your Honor. Sir, these nodules we see here is exhibit baby Dylan's ribs. That's just on the other layer of the skin. You're saying you didn't see anything in his rib cage, any bruising?
No, I did not see no bruising. Never.
State's Exhibit 58. You didn't see that bruising?
No.
State's Exhibit 58. You didn't see the bruising on the head?
No, and as I recall, the expert said that not always was there bruising.
No, but your son said he saw bruising all around the head, didn't he?
I did not see no bruising other than the bruise on his forehead.
Jessica was found guilty on all 11 counts, while Daniel was found guilty of all charges except for aggravated murder. Jessica is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 32 years. Daniel is sentenced to 47 years to life. So how was it that Jessica could raise one child without abuse and end the life of another? Jessica could have had an escalation in her addiction, meaning that she was taking more substances later in life when she had her second child. We're going to look at the deprivation of the drug released from pregnancy. Research indicates that after birth, the sudden removal of the hormonal cocktail from carrying a child can profoundly impact mental health, especially for those predisposed to addiction and instability. The extreme chemical shift resulting from suddenly losing the hormonal cocktail of pregnancy may provide insight on aggravating factors that could have enabled violence against baby Dylan after birth. Pregnancy floods the body with elevated levels of hormones like oxytocin, estrogen, cortisol, and others that plunge sharply soon after giving birth. This dramatic pendulum swing alters brain chemistry and can profoundly impact mood regulation and behavior, especially in those already wrestling with mental illness and instability. Some women experience postpartum drops so severely that they are associated with triggering conditions like postpartum depression, anxiety, OCD, and even psychosis that may feature irrational thoughts or uncommon behaviors. These conditions underscore how delivering a child can throw existing neurological wiring into dysfunction through rapid, unbalanced chemical changes. In Jessica's case, this volatile hormonal withdrawal may have coupled dangerously with existing addiction and behavioral issues observed by others. The sudden shift could have removed perceived inhibitors that kept impulses in check previously, and the stresses of now caring for a demanding newborn like Dylan may have provided stimulus prompting aggressive responses, without the once steady chemical flow of pregnancy keeping reactivity in balance. In essence, a pregnancy suppresses addiction's impacts temporarily, while elevating stakes should problems emerge. But the honeymoon ends abruptly after birth for both mother and child. Jessica's concealed pregnancy and spotty prenatal care suggests she felt trapped by circumstance. We know she used certain substances during her term, so the roller coaster shift from carrying the baby to losing that buffer and managing a fragile newborn with compounding pressures was surely a volatile transition, one she tragically proved unprepared to navigate with tragic costs. We must make one thing clear. We are not saying her actions are due directly from her substance abuse or from postpartum depression, but rather those factors are merely intensifying her previous undocumented mental health issues and instability. From what we know about Daniel, he may have been complicit in covering up the abuse and death of Dylan. Daniel's over 20-year relationship with Jessica, despite her instability and aggression, points to an extremely codependent bond that likely impacted his decision-making after discovering Dylan's murder. Codependency refers to a relationship dynamic where a person's sense of purpose becomes so intrinsically enmeshed with their partner that separating feels emotionally impossible, even amid escalating unhealthy behaviors. Daniel so desperately relied on life with Jessica that confronting even extreme wrongdoing would have meant facing utter devastation from dissolution of that bond. This manifests as enablement of anything preserving the relationship over other considerations. In tandem with codependence, a severely skewed sense of loyalty also emerges in toxic relationships, where protecting one's partner eclipses nearly all else. When crises emerge, that instinct often manifests first, before a rational weighing of legal or moral consequences. Especially in a state of shock, Daniel's impulse would be shielding Jessica over anything else. With codependent blinders on, and without allowing the sheer betrayal of his son to fully register, Daniel could operate on this singular motivation. With codependent blinders on, he could convince himself that hiding Dylan's demise was the only way to save Jessica. Despite greater crimes, Daniel could operate on this singular motivation, preserve Jessica no matter what, suspending all other responsibilities. So in crisis, their dysfunctional bond induced rash choices framed as loyalty that ultimately made Daniel party to Jessica's horrendous acts through desperation to sustain their now shattered union. As always, this analysis is not intended to absolve Jessica and Daniel of their horrific crimes. Do you think Daniel had more of a part in Dylan's demise than he let on? Why do you think Jessica tried to get her baby back instead of leaving him with the foster mom? Please remember to subscribe to the channel to receive automatic reminders of our weekly videos, which we premiere on Sundays followed by a live hangout session, and to also be reminded of our weekly live streams where we cover full trials and true crime stories. Also, if you want early access to ad-free and uncensored versions of all Wicked videos, feel free to become a channel member. Becoming a member will also give you access to exclusive emotes and badges. Thank you for watching, and join us next time when we explore the psychological maze of some of the most wicked people.